Marek Hovorka is only based part-time in Prague. The rest of the time he lives in his hometown of Jihlava, where he's been running the Czech Republic's most important documentary film festival for nearly 2 decades. When we caught up, Marek was super busy, putting the finishing touches to the programme before the start of this year's Jihlava in under a fortnight's time. So instead of the usual My Prague format of visiting various spots, we discussed his relationship to the city at a café at Letenské náměstí in Prague 7, the district where he lives and works.
I like Prague 7 because it's like small town in town. Yeah, you feel that you're part of some neighborhood, and it's also very open in way of parks, and it's very close to the center but behind the river, so there's not so many tourists, but on the other hand it's not so far like Prague 6. So yeah, I have to say that Prague 7 is a really nice place to live, and not surprisingly in past years it became one of the places in Prague where many young people want to live.
Are there places in Prague that documentary filmmakers congregate to go out or work? Are there places where I would find a lot of documentary makers?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think many of them you find around Film Academy, because they have some lectures there. They are part of department of documentary film, or they are in touch with some students. And then those directors who more work for Czech TV, you can find on Kavčí hory and around the television studios. So these are like two most common places for documentary filmmakers based to their work. But of course, because it's film people, so they usually go to cinema, or if not usually, they still try to go to cinema. So cinemas like Světozor or this Cinema Oko at Prague 7 are for sure one of key places where they want to spend time if they want to go to cinema.
Have there been good documentaries made about Prague, would you say?
Well, it's a good question. And of course there are some tries in past years. Some of them were part of a special documentary series for Czech TV based on different locations. The other one is this famous Šumná města, this series about architecture, and like from not so deep past, but let's say from 80s, there is a great film done about Prague by Věra Chytilová, and it's interesting how you can feel also the changing of the atmosphere, that the place is pretty grey, but the atmosphere is changing, it's not so grey.
What's it called?
Praha, neklidné srdce Evropy. It's really very interesting way in the form, but also in the spirit of the time. And Věra Chytilová is one of the best filmmakers we had, so it's great. And of course then there are very nice films done by Alexander Hackenschmidt in 30s, or by Otakar Vávra with this feel of avant-garde film. Again, like Bezúčelná procházka by Hamid. It's a great film, which for the first look when you see it is about nothing serious, but then you realize that that's it, that it's about the moment when you have free afternoon on the weekends and you go to spend it, to have a walk behind the Prague or at the suburbs, and it's really a masterpiece in the way how it's done, with the free spirit. And also this famous film by Otakar Vávra, inspired by this avant-garde filmmaking about this Prague in night. It's many neons and lights. It's a beautiful piece. So these films for me describe Prague the most.
What parts of Prague have you lived in the past? What have you found the best places to live in Prague?
Well, I have to say I lived for a couple of years in Rostoky, the small town near to Prague, and then I moved to Prague 7, and I'm moving from street to street, but I'm not changing the location.
What places do you like to go out in Prague?
Of course, working in this art space means to meet many people in cafes, so I try to discover new places.
It's hell, go to all these cafes.
But I have to say that to find a good place for coffee in Czech Republic it's not so easy, but it's changing. And then I have to say I like going to bookstores or to shops with old books, to some galleries. So if I have free time, and not so often, I find these places.
What about pubs? Where would you go for a drink?
Often I really don't want to waste time with moving from one place to another, so what's the closest to my office or to my place that's the best? So usually, for example, in Cinema Oko, we have some drinks and meetings all around. You can find this locale here near Stromovka or in Dlouhá Street. So there are a couple of places where me and my friends go if we have free night.
Well, Oko is part of the fantastic chain, small chain, also featuring Aero and Sviatozor, which I guess are you also connected with those in some way?
Yeah. I have to say that Aero 10-15 years ago was a real discovery and miracle, and the program they had at that time was completely changing the whole environment of art film. So of course I spent many nights there eating this cheese, this tartar sauce and potatoes or frites or whatever.
As somebody who works in the cultural sphere and is very active in that area, how lively do you find Prague as a city for culture? How vibrant is it compared to other cities?
It's not easy for me to compare because when I travel I usually have my work at places, so I spend a lot of time watching films, meeting people. But what I've heard from many foreigners coming and spending some time in Prague, they really enjoy. The variety of culture we have here is for many of them surprising. I think what might be the problem is that there is a strong culture movement in some part of society, but it's not the real part of the society, of the whole society. So there are many people who are really doing great work and, creating some spaces, theaters, clubs, hubs, whatever. But it's more like underground. It's still this kind of feeling that it's for me and my fellows, friends, then it's open space and open institution.
What do you find are downsides to living in Prague? Is there anything about Prague that you don't like?
I think that Prague is a very friendly place. Of course, every place is dangerous, all around the world. But still, as a person who knows the rules, I think you really can feel very safe compared to many other places I've been. So, and also what I like on Prague is that you pretty easily can move, that the public transport works well, and the system of trams is something what's really not everywhere. So for living, I think that Prague from big cities is one of you where you really can feel comfortable. The problem is that the people sometimes don't behave so much friendly, and this is something I'm usually sad when I see that they are not helping. For example, if you travel with tram and see that some woman has a kid in trolley and need help, nobody wants to help her. People are, very nervous, don't want to talk so much to other people, don't want to live outside. This kind of Czech phenomenon is strong in Prague, maybe stronger than in small towns where you can feel people much more.
Did you have to kind of get used to that when you came here, and maybe yourself also be a little bit less friendly?
I hope not. I hope not, but because I'm still surprised. But this is something like this tale about the frog, that if the frog jumps into the pot with hot water, the frog jumps out immediately. But if the frog jumps in the pot with cold water, but you're healing under it, and the water is getting warmer and warmer, the frog doesn't realize it, and then it's too late to jump out. So I think that it was very different 10 years ago, and it's changing. But I hope that the tension in society will be maybe better, and the new generation, which is more traveling and going outside and then coming back, that they will not continue this way of not so open living and sharing the town with others.
Well, I guess you must travel quite a lot for your work. What are the things that you see when you go to other cities that you think, I would love if this was in Prague?
For sure, the way how you live outside the buildings, to have a coffee or a restaurant on the street, on the square, it's something what's nice. Yeah, why not to enjoy time outside? Because you're always in the building, in the office, in the work, shopping, living, sleeping, always inside. So I think it's always good to spend more time outside and to take care of the places, to think about parks, about space where you want to be and you feel comfortable. And this is something, it's changing, and now this fashion of new architecture, you read it in many newspapers, magazines. I believe that it's not only about reading, but about changing, and that there will be more and more places like this, because, of course, it's from communist times that people were not free to speak, so they didn't have reason to be in towns or cities outside. Yeah? Maybe in some duchies or countryside, but not in the cities and towns. But it's crazy that it's 25 years after the revolution, but the feeling of being unsure and unsafe in these places is still here. This is frightening me, that when you make some change in the society, to heal it takes a really long time.